All right, it's that time of day, and we're going to begin to work out the kinks of all the tech that goes into Dynamic Friday. So, if you're watching on Facebook as we go live, appreciate you watching there. If you are tuned in on Free Conference Call HD, send a message to a friend and wake them up and make sure they are here with us today because we're going to go over some of the most needed information for this time of year. Adam, you and I are going to discuss over the course of the next 30 minutes or so how to manage the holiday season. So as we wait for the clock to turn to 9 o'clock and all the things to go live across our platforms, I'm excited for today's topic that you picked out because there's no better time to talk about selling in the holiday season than the week before all that fun really begins. Alrighty, we are just moments away from the record button on Free Conference Call HD, and there we go. All right, so good morning and welcome into another Dynamic Friday together. As we get settled in, I wanted to make sure that I took a quick moment to review the format for today. There might be someone listening in for the very first time, and as we are live across multiple things, I want to make sure that you're able to see us and to hear us and to kind of get an idea on how this works. We are live on StreamYard. Why are we doing this in StreamYard? So that you can log in and interact with the conversation if you choose. We are live on Facebook. We're live on Facebook, so folks that may not have heard about us before can learn about us. We're live in Free Conference Call HD, as we always are, 250 times out of the year, so that if you are on your way into the field today, you can continue with your routine, with your activity, and with your focus. Now, if you're watching us or listening to us on one of those massive social media platforms, I need a favor. I need you to like or interact with the content so that those platforms will show our information to more people. So if you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube, the more you comment, the more you like, and the more you interact, the more fun the conversation is, and the more they'll show it to other people. This week, for some of you, I'm sure, across the industry and across our agency, might have been a bit of a challenge. This might be the kind of week where you're doubting if you're ever going to do it again. Like, I'm just not. It's Thanksgiving next week. Family's coming over. Things have to be done. I'm just not going to do it. You might feel like your back is completely against the wall. Sorry. You might feel like your back is up against the wall, but in those situations, guess what? The only opportunity, the only option you really have is to push forward. This week, for some in our agency or across the industry, might feel quite bland, normal, almost unexciting. It might be so boring, unexciting, and bland that you might be chasing greener grass or looking at shiny objects. I get it. I've been there. But trust me, when things are boring and bland and they just come together as if it's a routine, enjoy it. Keep going and double down when things are just clicking exactly the way they're supposed to. Think about it a different way. If you were doing heart surgery, you were a successful heart surgeon making $250,000 a year, and it was an easy surgery, and you were popping through them like candy that week. Hey, just keep doing it, right? Don't go chase greener grass and become a neurosurgeon if you've mastered doing heart surgery. Trust me, if it comes together, just keep going. Next, maybe this week has been awesome, successful, profitable. People are buying every single thing you offer them, and momentum is completely in your favor. If that's the case, enjoy it and keep going. Momentum doesn't last forever, and when it's going in your favor, you absolutely need to capitalize on it. So wherever you are on the spectrum of your business, it's okay to acknowledge where you are. Plenty of people are on either end of that spectrum, maybe somewhere in the middle. Identify where you are in that spectrum of the business and use it to your advantage. You've got one full day this week left to win. I know many people that I've spoken to this morning are 1 or 2 applications away from a big breakthrough, from hitting their goal, from pushing the ball from this week into the next. You've got plenty of today and plenty of time to do it, and overtime tomorrow if you needed to. Don't let success get away from you because you are so close to achieving that this week and continuing to grow into next week. Now let's tackle today's topic. Over the course of the next 25 to 27 minutes, Adam and I are going to talk about managing your business and selling, more specifically, practical suggestions on selling in the holiday season. Now, Adam, I know you came up with this topic and I just ran with it today. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of selling in the holiday season, any opening thoughts or why'd you pick today's topic?
Yeah, good morning, Chris. Hold on, let's see here. Okay. Yeah, you know what? I picked today's topic because, well, it's that time of year. And I think a lot of times agents get in their head a little bit when it comes to this time of year. And right away, they think people don't want to talk to them. And like, what are you going to do? Just take the rest of the year off? I mean, you got to figure out ways to be successful. And I mean, honestly, I've never really changed a whole lot when it comes to like, working in December. Uh, I really keep everything the same, but I just think a lot of it has to do too, like with like this coming week. I mean, kind of like what you said. I mean, it's a shortened week this coming week, and Thanksgiving on Thursday. I'm assuming most people probably won't be working on Friday. There's no reason you can't work on Friday. I mean, I've worked plenty of days right after Thanksgiving, and even like the Saturday after Thanksgiving. So, I mean, you can work those days, but if you elect to not, well, then you got to figure out ways to make that up. For instance, I'm going to make sure our appointment setters call for me for appointments on Monday. I'm going
Mhm.
to go out and work on Monday because I'm not going to be working Thursday. I still want to get my 3 days in. So I'm still going to work Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday rather than Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So you just got to adjust, figure out ways to make up the time that you're going to be missing. If that means that you got to work a little bit more the following week, maybe a few extra hours here and there, just you got to figure out ways to make that time up if you want to have the same results that you've had prior months.
Well said. Now, first one I wrote down that I'd love to hear your thoughts on in just a moment is the holiday, DAY, does not have to become a hollow week, WEEK, if I spelled that right, if you need to work. Now, we've been talking and planning in our agency for months, honestly, about taking the final 10 days of 2024 off. But if you're watching or listening today and your bank account says you can't do that, then you need to go right back to work. There's nothing wrong with accepting wherever you are in your entrepreneurial journey. We've all been in one of those positions before. You have to make the decision before that day, though, and have an honest review of your income, of your expenses, of your savings, and your budget. And if you need to have that honest review with somebody else, that's part of your upline's responsibility. And if your upline doesn't have the answer to that, time to go shopping for another one. Maybe your upline puts you in contact with a financial advisor, an accountant, or somebody else. But realistically, sometimes you need to have those conversations with more than just yourself, maybe your significant other, maybe just get out of your head and talk it through. You need to have an honest review of your bank account, your income, your expenses, your savings, and your operating budget before you decide if you can take that much time off. And if you can't, no shame in the game. If you need to go to work, bounce right back on Black Friday. Guess what? Our appointment team will dial on Thursday if you ask them to. It's not a holiday for them. They'll do their job if you want to do yours. Or go out there and just bang doors as if it's 2016 and you've got money to make. If you need to make money and you can't take the time off, there's no shame in going back to work on December 26th. It's just a normal day of the week. And guess what? If you had a normal job, you might be scheduled to work that day if you hadn't. Maybe you need to work December 27th. Go to work. Most of America's going to work. And if you need to, do it. Work December 30th, no different than any other Monday if necessary, and take full advantage of January 2nd and January 3rd. Adam, I can recall the day I worked New Year's Day because I opened my bank account and I said, it looks like I'm going to have to do this. And guess what I did? I wrote business. There weren't, Actical wasn't open. I couldn't do third-party interviews. I was doing a lot of Transamerica paper applications back in the day. But I went out and worked on January 1st because I said to myself and I said to my bank account, I guess we're going to go do this. So I guess before we move into number two, just speak to the group and the audience and tell them if they got to work a holiday the day before or the day after, it's still legal to do so.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. I mean, kind of like what you were saying too. If you had a 9 to 5 job, are you just going to be able to take off whenever you want? I mean, there's going to be days that your boss says, well, you got to be here. So, and most people, I mean, heck, I mean, people work in retail, they can't take off on Friday. I mean, it'll be one of their busiest days of the year. But yeah, I mean, even like, I even think about, outside of holidays, like the winter, the fact that, where I live, we get a lot of snow. And even yesterday, I know me and you were talking. I mean, there was a ton of, it was snowing really, really heavy. I mean, it took me forever. I had an appointment on the west side of Chicago. It took me forever to get there because of the snow. But if I had a 9 to 5 job, would I be able to call in to work and say, I'm not coming in today because it's snowing?
No,
Probably not.
that's right.
I'd probably be out of that job pretty quickly. So that's where I mean, you need to treat this just like a full-time career, which it is. And you don't want to treat it like a hobby and just feel like going out and working when you feel like it. You need to feel like it every day.
Yeah,
And
and if you don't, yeah, people aren't going to feel like it sometimes, but that doesn't mean you
yeah,
just don't do it.
most definitely. Yeah, you just got to get out there and treat it like a full-time career, which it is.
Uh,
And around the holidays, we talked last week so much about mindset. And I think that plays a big part in this time of year too. If you get in your head and you think people aren't going to want to talk to you, they're not going to want to talk to you. Uh, but I've never really had those issues. You just got to figure out ways to brush it off. If they try to blow you off, you got to be able to overcome those things. And that's
yep.
where we can help you. If you don't know what to say, I mean, it's really not that difficult. I mean, we can help you. But bottom line, this is a numbers game, going out and seeing people. And the more people you see, the more sales you're going to make. And you got to put the time in to do so.
Yep. Next on the list of how to tackle selling in the holiday season is how to tackle the holiday objection, which I wrote down is honestly never valid. Like, I don't know if we self-created that one in the industry ourselves, but it's not real. It's really not real. Because here's the thing. Once you get into December 1st, everything that you're going to sell anyway can probably start in January, generally speaking, 90% of it. And we learned from information from folks like Jeff Root and Digital BGA, almost 40% of their business is same-day draft business. If they're able to collect almost half of their business is same-day draft business, there's really no holiday objection anyway. Look at it another way. It's literally the buying season. It's not the procrastination season. You're not seeing all these commercials about make sure that you procrastinate on Black Friday. Make sure you don't go anywhere or do anything. We lived through the procrastination season in COVID. It was advertised everywhere. Don't leave your house and don't let anyone into your house. Well, look at it the other way around right now. It is literally the buying season of the year. And you're going to tell yourself when you're in a sales position, people don't want to buy from you. It just doesn't make any kind of sense. Here's another one. Well, I have to buy all these gifts and all this money has to be spent. Your client in final expense and in Medicare is on a fixed income anyway. They ain't going to be making all kinds of more money this month or next month. They're living in poverty their entire life, making poor financial decisions their entire life. Now they're going to want to make some kind of logical financial decision. It's made up. Let's look at it another way, Adam. Come January, your client is going to be making more money because of a cost of living increase. They generally give those out pretty often. It isn't a lot of money, but it is more money. So in my opinion, the holiday objection is never valid, and it's probably just something that we made up to scare ourselves. What do you think?
Yeah, it's that word that you like to use, Chris, smokescreen. That's really all it is. It's another reason to try to get the person that shows up at their house to run back to their car and drive off. That's really all it is. You got to be able to overcome those things. And I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of trouble getting in the door, even door knocking the leads. If they say, I don't know. I'm just pretty laid back about it. Like I said yesterday, I mean, I don't have like these super creative things to say at the door. I'm just myself. I tell them, look, I'm already here. Why don't we just go over it real quick? It'll take 10 minutes and then you don't have to worry about me bothering you anymore.
Yeah.
And,
You're already
that's
there
it.
anyway. Like,
I'm already there
why would I come
anyways.
back more times? I'm here
Yeah.
now. It doesn't make any sense.
Let's just
Gonna
get
come
this
back
over
again.
with. You fill the thing out. Maybe you didn't mean to. Maybe it was by error. I'm already here. Let's just get it done. But yeah, it's nothing more than just a smokescreen to try to get the agent to just run back to their car and, oh yeah, I'll call you after the holidays. Well, what then they're going to have another excuse.
Exactly.
It's the new year, money's tight. We just spent all this money on Christmas. But like you said, Chris, our clients, they don't have a whole lot of extra money. I mean, I talk
Mhm.
about the holidays and Christmas with my clients, and most of them will tell you, yeah, I don't really have a whole lot of extra money that I'm going to be spending on gifts. My family knows that. So if they tell you that they just don't have extra money this month because usually Christmas isn't really much in their budget anyways.
Yeah, they haven't had a lot of money in the first place. That won't be any different the next month. And the reality is, if you're doing this business correctly, you're going to be so busy with the day-to-day grind of January, you shouldn't have time to chase people from December. You should be getting fresh leads every single week where you don't have time to be going back to last week unless you need filler to your schedule. Next on the list this morning, as we discuss practical ways to tackle the holiday season, I think is pretty important. It's to be flexible so that you can be present. Your kids, if you have them, are going to have concerts and school activities and December type stuff, right? Your family may have get-togethers that may require you to travel. And it's important to be present in the lives of those that matter to you, especially in the moments that only happen once ever. But that doesn't mean that work stops. That doesn't mean that you can't go out for half of a day and then be present in the evening for a concert. That doesn't mean you can't get a late start to be at something early in the day. That doesn't mean you can't go out on a Saturday or a Monday or capitalize on weeks of the week you normally wouldn't work. Now is the time that you can be flexible so that you can be present. Honestly, you can make all the money this business has to offer. But if you don't spend any time or create any relationships or be present in anyone's life, and you die lonely and alone and rich in bed by yourself, what was the point? So my tip number 3 during the holiday season is to be flexible so that you can be present in the lives of those that matter to you. What are your thoughts, Adam?
Yeah, and that's kind of like what I was saying earlier with just having to maybe readjust your schedule a little bit. I know my family, we have a shared calendar on our phone where any family stuff going on, I can see what's on there. So that way, I mean, because we have so much going on. I mean, if my wife just tells me, "Oh, we have this next week on Thursday," if it's not on the calendar, I'm probably going to forget, and I'll probably end up working. So, having a shared calendar, I think, is a good idea with the family to kind of see what's going on a regular basis, and then that way you can readjust your schedule around that. And like I said, I mean, honestly, I mean, that's the great thing about our business too, though, is being able to be flexible and being able to take off to go to family events, things that our kids are involved in, where we don't have to miss it because of certain things. Even like, I know, like my son, he had a Halloween thing a couple weeks ago, and it was like in the morning. It was like I don't know, 10 o'clock in the morning. If I had a regular 9-to-5 job, I probably wouldn't have been able to go. But, because of the independence and being able to be flexible with that, I'm not able to, I don't have to miss those sort of things that I wouldn't want to miss. But you got to be able to make up that time, make up the time that you're missing. I probably worked a little bit later that day because I had to start a little bit later. I made up for it, but I still was able to be, involved with the family when I needed to be.
Absolutely. The next on the list this morning is be willing to work alternative leads and lead types in alternative areas, which speaks right to what we said before, is being flexible. This time of year in marketing is very, very difficult. Between the election, between annual enrollment, between, Christmas marketing campaigns, direct mail is really, really difficult. Some areas overperform, some areas dry up like a desert, and it drives the vendors crazy because they want to sell leads. It's their business model. Like, trust me, there is not a single lead vendor out there that says to themselves, yeah, I'm not going to send out a piece of mail today, or I'm not going to push the button on that campaign. They want to sell them so that you can sell them, so that you can buy more. That's their job. But this time of year, it's a challenge for both digital and direct mail marketers. You, as the personal producer, have to be willing to be flexible with lead types, with areas that you're going to go work. And guess what? The further you drive from home, oftentimes, the more you sell and the more focused you become. So don't be afraid of an aged lead compliantly if necessary. Don't be afraid to buy digital if needed. Don't be afraid to mail more so you have more now, or be willing to get out of your comfort zone when the needs of the marketing side of the business change. Now, Adam, you have a boatload of inventory. I believe you currently have 51 leads in stock before I parse out today's order. But talk to us or talk to the viewing audience about alternative lead types and areas if for some reason your area might dry up this time of year.
Well, yeah, it's important to be flexible. I mean, heck, if you want to make money, you got to figure out a way to get out and find some people to go talk to. So yeah, you have to be flexible if there's no leads in your area, and if you have to drive a little bit further to work some leads, or maybe you got to work some Facebook leads that are a little bit more spread out. You got to do what you got to do. At this point, I'd say really there's two options for the independent agents out there. I would recommend right now to probably maybe double up on your lead orders. So when we get to like the second, third week of December, you're going to have more than enough leads coming in. Hopefully, I've never experienced like a huge drought when it comes to leads in December. And maybe I've done that in the past and not realized it. Even like Facebook leads, like, I mean, that would be your other option. Facebook leads, you can get them rather quickly. You're not going to be waiting around for them. Maybe order more. If they take longer to come in, you just might need to order more leads. But yeah, there's ways to generate business. Again, I mean, so much of this is just mindset. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about my week this week, and pretty much all my business this week was not off of leads. It was, policy holders, adding coverage, things like that. So if you want to find sales, you'll find them. It's just a matter of putting the time in and figuring out where to get them.
If you don't want to find business and you don't need to make money, or you don't have a desire to succeed, guess what? You're not going to find it either. I remember last year, the last day of the year, I've told this story countless times before, and I'm sure someone's sick of hearing it. I wanted to have a successful last day before I took that last week off, and didn't have a lot of appointments because it's a tough time of year for the appointment setters. They're going to work just as hard as they always do, but it's a harder time of year. But I texted a bunch of existing clients looking to drum up business on a holiday incentive, and I wrote business. Like, you can find it if you choose to look for it, but if you don't go looking, you're never going to find it. Number 6 on my list this morning, before we get into your week for sure, is product changes. We just got an email recently from a carrier that we don't sell, so it's not going to affect us at all, that they're raising their rates to remain competitive. Well, it's a nice way of saying they just got to raise the rates. This is the season of the year where that's going to happen. If you rewind back the clock about 2 years, the carriers exit the market. A carrier exited the market in a December afternoon. So why is this a surprise? Because we know this time of year it happens all the time. Forrester's made changes in December all the time. Transamerica makes changes. Well, they've already made their changes. But this is the time of year you're going to see changes. What you're offering right now, today, may be vastly different come January. Carry that urgency and that reality into the sale, and you're going to sell more insurance, plain and simple. Not only are the rates going to change, but the products on the market right now could also change. You guys witnessed this in the middle of the year, right? Multiple carriers like Columbian, Lumen Co., American Memorial, Great Western, gone, goodbye. Well, that was a little abnormal. When it happens this time of year, don't be surprised, because it's a normal time of year to see product and rate changes pretty significantly. So Adam, speak to the group, speak to the viewing audience, speak to them about your thoughts, knowing this is the time of year where things can change, and that's normal, but that's the kind of urgency we should carry into our sales.
Well, unless every single carrier goes out of business, we should be okay. I mean, that's really it. Talked a little bit last week about being loyal to one carrier, and at the end of the day, you just got to learn the business. And heck, if one carrier decides, what you just said, Chris, I'm sitting here just wrapping my head around this and like laughing that I don't know if I received that email or not. I don't know what carrier you're talking about, but they said that
Mhm.
they're raising their rates to remain competitive. Like that's
Yeah.
the funniest thing I've ever heard.
It's
So
not somebody
we
we
have
sell.
really good rates. We have really good rates. What should we do? We should raise them to make them, to even the playing field for other companies. Like that doesn't make any sense. But I just don't get it. But uh, but yeah, you got to learn. You learn the business. The, I think insurance toolkits help me a lot when it comes to learning underwriting with different carriers. You got to learn the back office stuff with the different carriers. That doesn't take that much time to learn. You got to learn how to do the e-apps and the different processes. But at the end of the day, heck, if one carrier goes away, it's not going to put me out of business. There's plenty of other options. And but I feel fortunate because I feel like the ones that I primarily write with, I don't think are going to be going anywhere.
Well said. The last one I have on the list before we go exclusively on StreamYard and social media is what you're doing right now directly affects what your business is going to look like and your life is going to look like in 3 months at minimum. What you do now directly impacts your income over the course of the next 90 days. And I've watched and I've witnessed and I've stressed to Adam about the fact that this time of year, I've seen agents pull the plug on their entire distribution. Like they shut the store down thinking they could reopen it in January and pick up like normal. And I'm thinking to myself, what a horrible decision they're making. I've seen agents coast and collapse because they're coasting. I've even seen them make massive business altering decisions this time of year, never to recover again. But in the smallest of pictures, in the micro view of things, what you're doing right now directly affects your income in 90 days, plain and simple. I'll give you a personal example. For the most of the summer, I worked maybe one day in the field, spent a lot more time recruiting, spent a lot more time with the kids. It's summer. That's the privilege I get to take by pouring so much time into this business. But guess what? I paid the price the next 90 days afterwards. Income was down, sales were down, all the things that I was used to having were lower because I coasted through the summer. If you coast through the rest of this year, you're going to be digging yourself out of a hole the whole first quarter of next year. I promise you. And guess what happens? As you're trying to dig your way out of the hole, you're going to be digging your way out of the typical amount of chargebacks that take place. Something's going to go wrong with your kids, your wife, your house, your sewage. You're going to dig your way out of some expected normal aspect of your adult life you didn't expect. So why create more challenges for yourself and recognize the fact that what you're doing right now directly impacts what your income is going to look like over the course of the next 90 days, into February, into March. So in my opinion, you're either going to set yourself up for success this holiday season, or you're going to set yourself up to struggle. It's really your decision to decide. Adam, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the reason we're successful, Chris, I mean, I wrote it down on my iPad here and I circled it about 10 times. The key word, I think, is consistency. And doesn't matter what time of year it is. You got to be consistent with all parts of your business, all parts of your life, really. And you can't get off of track with things. I had a group locally working with me earlier in the year, and younger guys, they were doing pretty well, hitting hard, and then summer came, and all of a sudden the weather's nice. It's like they didn't feel like going out working anymore. It was too nice out, and I'd rather go to the beach and stuff. Yeah, I would too, but you know what? Also got to make money. So, and I think that when that happens, when you start to take time off like that, you fall off track. Like you mentioned, business starts to fall off. You got to be able to keep up with your business. People worry so much about final expense and chargebacks. You let it affect you yourself if you're not consistent with your business. I mean, some of the business I wrote this week, it was with carriers that I owe money to. I didn't do it on purpose. I wasn't sitting there like, all right, well, let's see, this company I owe money to, so I better write this somewhere else. I mean, the debt's not going to go away. So,
No, no,
you know,
that's
you need to,
uh,
you know, you got to just be consistent with writing business. Don't worry about chargebacks. But yeah, I think consistency is the key, really. You know, I could say it 100 times in a row. You got to be consistent. Like, even like our podcast, Chris, and our trainings. I mean, when's the last week that we didn't have a training or we didn't record content? I can't think
never
of one.
like
I mean, it's
over a year
been
ago.
at
Since
least,
yeah.
yeah.
There has and realistically, let's talk about the morning call because I was talking to a marketer about kind of promoting that as a recruiting hook. And he's like, "So what's your hook?" And I said, "We have free training every day." He's like, "What? Every day? How incredible is that? How many agents are out there thinking to themselves, I don't know what to do and how to do it, and there's free training available every day, 250 days out of the year. We hardly take any time off except very few strategic times out of the year. It's that consistency that carries people through the ebb and flow of the business. And on that note, we're going to part ways with folks on Free Conference Call HD and encourage them to join us on StreamYard, YouTube, Facebook, or wherever across social media you want to meet us at, because we're going to spend the next 30 minutes there with Adam talking about his week. Adam, I'm going to close up the conference call line over here, but feel free to share some more thoughts about consistency or the next 90 days as we make this transitional moment in the day.
Well, yeah, I mean, just, you know, being consistent is just important with all aspects of your business when it comes to like what we do with the appointment setting and just having the leads on a regular basis. You know, whether you're with us or not, I know some of you that are watching probably are not. And that's fine. I mean, we do this for everybody, but you need a, you know, we have a really I don't know. I can't think of a good word for it. I mean, we just kind of have it all set up where Chris actually, you know, helps a lot with the leads when it comes to placing the lead orders. That takes a little bit off of me, so I don't got to worry about that. I give him the zip codes, he does the leads, and I just, you know, he shoots me over an invoice every week, and I pay for them. So it's kind of nice. As the leads come in, I'm paying for them. It's a good convenience and a time saver for myself. But for those of you, like I said, that aren't with us, you need to be consistent with placing lead orders. You can't be placing one lead order, especially a direct mail that takes at least 3 to 4 weeks to come in, and wait for those leads to come in and then go work them. And then once you make a commission or place another lead order, like, what are you going to do for the next 3 weeks?
No, it just doesn't work that way. Like there's a whole pipeline, not to cut in on your flow there, but the direct mail does not work if you don't work it every single week in the ordering process. It's kind of like we're talking about selling in the holiday season, Adam. It's like Christmas elves. Like the elves have to be doing their job, otherwise the presents don't come. And as soon as you start monkeying with that process, the whole thing breaks. And there may not even be a good reason why it breaks, but there's a human process along the way. There's the ordering, there's the person that's placing the order, the person that's dropping the order, the person that's receiving the order, the person that's scanning the order. Like there's all these little steps along the way that have to happen. And if you start monkeying with that process, oh, I'll take a little bit, I won't take it, I'll take some, I'll take none, it just stops working. And guess what? There's other agents ordering in those areas. And if you stop ordering in that area, guess what? Somebody else that uses that vendor is going to order in that area. And then when you want it, you won't be able to have it. It's just like this like ecosystem of success that has to exist. And when you start poking holes in it with direct mail, that crap breaks really easily.
Well, you know, and then with the appointment setting, Chris, this week wasn't my best week of appointment set for me. I wish I had a full day of appointments every single day. I wish I had a 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, you know, all the way to 6 or 7 o'clock at night. I really wish that that's how it would go. But some weeks are not that way. But this week wasn't that way. I'm not just going to say, let's shut it off, because my life would be a hell of a lot harder if I didn't have those appointments set on a regular basis. So one slow week of appointments, I still figured out ways to generate business, but I'm telling you, boy, I don't know. I used to just primarily door knock leads, and I was good at it, and I wrote a lot of business, but just having those appointments set, it definitely makes a huge difference. I don't know. I almost feel like almost spoiled with it, because it makes life so much easier. It just, I don't know, it at least gets me out of the house quicker, earlier. I always have a reason to get out there and see people. But yeah, like I said, one poor week, that would be like if I had one lead order where I didn't write hardly any business. I've had those too. I don't quit ordering leads. And that's the mistake so many agents make. It's like such small sample size of what we do, and they give up way too easily and way too quickly.
People need to watch more baseball and see those minor league players that come in and just destroy the league for weeks, or maybe like 10 days, 2-week period. But everybody really knows they're quad A players. They're going to eventually be overexposed, and they're going to show themselves to be what they really are. And I don't mean that in an offensive sense, but that's small sample size. And when you look at it and you say, oh my gosh, this guy's batting 600 and he hit 6 home runs in 5 games. That's not really his long-term projections, though. You're looking at the wrong sample size. Or Adam, when somebody comes into spring training and they're just blowing the ball off the whatever it is. Well, it's spring training, small sample size. It's not a real game. Let's calm it down. So I think it's important that agents, especially this time of year, don't get overly emotional and recognize the big picture and the big data, and not the ebb and flow and that day-to-day you get wrapped up in.
Well, that would be another thing, Chris. I guess that was a good analogy there. I mean, because just like a baseball player that went into spring training and was knocking the cover off the ball, well, then a scouting report comes out on the guy, and then pitchers know how to pitch to the guy. They can see, maybe he doesn't hit a breaking ball as well as a fastball. Maybe he doesn't hit the the up and in or whatever. Pitch him inside the zone, whatever. They got to make adjustments. And that's the same thing with our business. Like I said, this week, I didn't have a lot of appointments set. I had to make adjustments. I'm not going to go out there and just, have one appointment and then go home. I'm already out there. I'm going to figure out ways to generate business. And that's what I need to do. And that's what I did. Majority of my business this week, actually, I wrote one piece of Medicare business off of a appointment that was set on a policyholder of mine. Outside of that, everything I wrote was from door knocking leads and door knocking policyholders. So I had to make adjustments, but that's what you got to do to be successful. You got to be willing to make those adjustments and don't just go home and pout about it if you only have 1 or 2 appointments set.
Well, the best part is the appointment team is going to continue to call through those leads until they get a no. And then the next appointment setter is going to call through the ones that they were told. Like they literally rotate through leads at times, because if one person was told no, that doesn't mean the next appointment setter won't get a yes. And the one after that won't get a yes. They literally have to tell, Miss Johnson literally has to tell 4 different people no before they give up on the lead at times. So maybe you didn't get an appointment off of, or a sale off of the lead this week, but that doesn't mean they're not going to continue to cycle it through and eventually find you business in those leads weeks and months later, that if it was just you yourself, you would have way given up on, right?
Yeah, that's another thing, Chris. If for those of you out there that know other people in the business that are maybe local to you, set up something with them. You can even trade leads where, maybe you door knocked a lead and the person slammed the door in your face. Give it to another guy. I've done it. I mean, I've worked with agents. I mean, heck, I've given agents of mine leads that I've worked that I didn't get anywhere with. And I mean, they're not any better than me usually. And they've made sales sometimes where maybe I just caught them at the wrong time. Maybe I door knocked the lead. Who knows what's going on in the house? Maybe they're on the phone arguing with one of their kids or something. Who knows? Might have just caught them at a bad time. Give the lead to somebody else. They go out and work it, and maybe they'll have success out of it. Maybe they just didn't like how I looked. Maybe they just thought I looked like a jerk or something. I don't know. Give it to another person. Maybe they'll have a better experience than I did. And they can do the same to you. So there's again, creative ways of generating business. Pass leads back and forth amongst peers.
Yeah, don't be afraid of buying, as I jokingly call them within the folks within our local area, gently used leads of mine. Like I'm in the field 1 and 2 days a week. They get called through once or twice. I'll give them to you for it's half the price, whatever. You're going to find way more business out of it than I could find, just simply because you've got more time to work them. So gently, when you've got agents in that local area, in your agency in general, that's a huge strategic advantage. What else happened this week, practically speaking, sales wise, that you might want to share with the viewing audience that could make them better because they're watching today?
Well, I mean, this week was just, I don't know. It's again, just so much back and forth with this business. And yeah, my Tuesday pretty much struck out, really didn't get anywhere with anybody. But what did happen Tuesday was I received a commission statement from a carrier that I wrote last week, and I was expecting to get paid. And I noticed that all the business I wrote, all it did was clear up, not even clear up. It took a dent out of a big chargeback that I got hit with. I didn't even realize the piece of business fell off. I wish that I would have, but I didn't. But right away, in my mind, the person that took out that policy, their original intention wasn't to pay for it for 2 months and then lose it. So I'm going to do what I can to get that business back. And I called the company, and I guess this guy's business fell off. I think his September payment was missed. He started it in May. So he paid May, June, July, August. And we're talking about, it was like a $220 a month premium. So right there, I mean, heck, this guy, I mean, he put what, $880 into a policy over 4 months. And then he missed the September payment. And then they took him off the bank draft because he missed that payment. Mm-hmm. I don't like when carriers do that because I feel like it's just setting that policy up to lapse. Especially because the carrier, they have a 30-day grace period, the policyholder. So even if one payment's missed, why don't we still try to draft the following month? And then the month after that, if anything, they're just going to be 1 month behind. But when they take them off the bank draft, I almost feel like it's setting them up to lapse because unfortunately, I know we talked about this yesterday, Chris, and you even said, well, our clients also need to be responsible with their money. Mm-hmm. Well, I wish our clients were, but if that payment's missed, unfortunately, that money's already spent somewhere else 9 times out of 10.
Well, if there's a carrier watching right now, because I know they occasionally do. I was texting with somebody who runs a big tech company yesterday. Appreciate the back end channels and communication there. Let us know. Like, send us an email. This is 2025.
Yeah, we don't mind correspondence.
You couldn't send us a lapse text, a postal letter. Come on, let us know. We don't have the time to sit there and troll through 62 different portals at times. You got to let us know this stuff. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to fix it most of the time. And Adam, why these carriers allow full advances and charge back all of the policy if it lapses in the next 9 months is it doesn't make much sense either. I wish some of these companies would just listen to what we say on this podcast and this conversation because it would make them more money.
Most definitely. I mean, I've been on the internal side too. I mean, I worked for a carrier. I remember we had a meeting once and this topic came up and they're like, I just feel like we send out too many emails to our agents. And I'm thinking, well, maybe you send out stupid emails that are pointless. Like, you haven't written business in 30 days. What's going on? I don't want that annoying email either. But if they're emails that are going to affect my business when it comes to if business is falling off or someone's late on their payments, I want to know about that stuff.
Great Western used to send marketing emails every week, almost every day about the most nonsensical nonsense, but stopped emailing about lapses. I said, this doesn't make any sense. And if these companies can email us to tell us they're closed on Thanksgiving, duh. They could definitely email us to tell us the policy is falling off the books. I wish they would get so much better at that because when they need the policies to be on the books, it's the least profitable time for us to service them. So we have to find some kind of cohesive opportunity where you need to be making the money and we need it nice and easy. So figure it out, please.
Yeah, well, if I was writing business with one carrier, I would spend a lot more time on that one carrier's website and their back office, and probably maybe be able to look up those sort of things when it comes to late notices and things like that. But when you're writing business with several different carriers, you're not spending
Mhm.
the time to log into every single portal and look up all these different things. But an email would be helpful. If I get an email notification of business being behind, I'm going to do what I can to keep up with that business.
Can I
I
tell
mean,
you?
heck, and when these carriers complain about not being profitable and it takes them too long to be profitable, well, heck, maybe you should do stuff to help the agents to keep up with their business.
I got to tell you the wildest story I didn't share yet, and I don't know if I should share it live on Facebook, but it's so funny. Maybe somebody will get a kick out of it. I get an email from a carrier that is raising their rates to become more competitive recently, and they emailed me notification of like the client had bought a policy. It wasn't me that sold it. But I clicked on it and I opened up the policy, the application, and I'm like, that was one of my clients in Tennessee that just recently bought insurance from another company. Why I got this email, I don't know. So I called the lady and she's like, I said, Miss Pamela, were you buying insurance at 11:30 last night? She's like, I got to go to the doctor. She hung up. So I called her back the next day. Miss Pamela, how was the doctor? You still alive? She's like, yeah. So what happened? She's like, I realized what happened. And I realized you were that guy that I've been working with for 4 years. And you had been in my house before. I'm like, I sure have. And I've met your mom before. And I walked through it. We talked through it and we put her in a new policy. But the carrier emailed me the application of someone else's application for someone. It was the wildest thing I've ever
Wow.
seen. But unfortunately, he's now been replaced. So, oops.
Hey, well, I would thank the carrier. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Hey, they're getting more competitive with their rate increase.
Yeah, most definitely. So, yeah. What else you want to talk about?
During the holiday season too, I think a lot of agents have these struggles that are all in their heads, but they also have to remember how important. I don't know if I covered this during the first 30 minutes, how high mortality gets this time of year. Like people legitimately die more during the holidays than they do the rest of the year. It's a medical fact. They get sicker, they have heart attacks, strokes, they travel, they forget their medicine, they're off their medicine, they're overeating, they're over drinking. They're either becoming sicker or they're dying. And when we allow them to fall, we fall victim to the holiday objections and smoke screens. We're doing them a disservice because they may not make it to the next year, or they may not make it to next year as healthy as they are right now. What are your thoughts on the fact that people do die more this time of year and get sicker, and we can't let them down?
Yeah, they're overeating, man. They're I'm telling you, boy, they're eating too much turkey. They're eating too much stuffing. And but no, yeah, seriously. I mean, it makes sense. Like you said, they forget their medications. If anything, it could create urgency. You could bring that up to people when you're in the home. Well, this time of year, people the mortality rate is higher. Even people that maybe lost a lot of their family that are older, people that, everyone's gone, they don't have a whole lot of family left. I mean, it could probably be a pretty depressing time of year. It could lead to health issues and things like that as well.
Yeah.
So
I remember as a EMT, before even making it to being a paramedic, there was a multi-car, multi-family, multi-fatal accident on I-95 on Christmas Eve. Like I went in to volunteer at the rescue squad on Christmas Eve. Hey, if I can volunteer on Christmas Eve, you can work December 26th if you need to. But like multiple people were killed on Christmas Eve in a car accident. And these kind of tragedies do happen. And when we allow people to sell us on why they're not buying, we're letting them down a lot of the times too. So we have to take what we do even more seriously, knowing that this might be their only opportunity to get insurance at the same health or their same status on earth,
yeah, most definitely. I'm sorry, Chris. I just was looking at some of the comments here.
All good. You wrote a little bit of
Someone put
Medicare.
WWJD question mark. I don't know what that means.
What would Jesus do? Jesus would buy insurance.
Oh, okay.
There
you go.
Yeah. I want to pray about it. Well, Jesus worried about his mom on the cross, so you should get insurance too. Like that's an old.
I know you were asking me a little bit about my week too, and yeah, that Wednesday. So I think what I was getting at, that piece of business, I ended up going back and I wrote the guy a new application. Fortunately, his health hasn't changed since May. I wish I could have just reinstated it, but he would have owed like over $700 because he would have had to pay September, October, and November, and then December payment would be coming up. So that would just be a lot, and he wasn't going to be able to handle that. Yeah, it would have been like over $800, $880 really. September, October, November, and then December. So ended up rewriting it. He has not had a birthday since I wrote it, so the premium was exactly the same. They issued the policy, and I'm hoping, every company is a little bit different when it comes to rewrites, new business, but I'm hoping that I get paid the full commission on it to clear up that chargeback. So I end up getting paid on the piece of business that I wrote last week. Those are my hopes. I guess I'll see probably sometime today. They'll probably send me a statement on it. The rest of that day, really just did a bunch of door knocking. I mean, I'm looking at my Wednesday. I had one appointment 3:00 in the afternoon that wasn't home. So yeah, majority of the rest of my day there was just door knocking. And I did door knock a lead. It was actually a lapsed policy holder. It was one where the initial premium NSF'd, and it wasn't one that I wrote, but I went back and saw the guy. And that's the thing, I don't understand sometimes, because I'm just not that way. Like, agents will write a piece of business, and if it falls off, they just don't do anything about it. Like, you'd rather just let that chargeback hang over your head and never do anything about it. I don't get it. Anyways, I went and saw this guy. It was an NSF from like, I don't know, probably like March or April. And the guy still needed insurance. So talked to him about it, went through it. This was Wednesday. I tried one company and got a decline. I was kind of surprised. Tried a second company, got a decline. And then we were just kind of running out of time. This guy lived on a farm. He had a whole bunch of animals. He had pigs and goats and horses and all this stuff. And there was a snowstorm coming, and he had to kind of round up all of his animals before it got dark, before it was getting too dark out. And so, but I knew the guy was serious about doing business, and we got to talking about other stuff too. We talked a little bit about Medicare, and he was like, yeah, I'm with United Healthcare now. I want to get back on my Humana. I had Humana previously. I'm like, all right, well, I'll come back tomorrow night. We'll get it done.
48 hours later, I fixed the problem.
Yeah. Last night I went back and we took care of that. And then I was able to get him covered with a carrier. It was like $100 a month. It was a modified death benefit. So there's some things in his health record. Not quite sure what, but I was at least able to get him a modified benefit. I also wrote up his son, actually 2 sons. I got to finish up one of them today. I was having issues with Royal Arcanum, their e-app. For some reason, his social security number was already in the system or something, and it wouldn't let me proceed with the app. So I have to call out there today so they can
unlock it,
or something. But that'll be another one I'll be writing today. I mean, just a little small one, probably $20 a month or something like that. But anyways, yeah, ended up with some pretty good premium out of that house last night. It was about $1,500 in premium. I also wrote the Medicare Advantage plan. And then earlier in the day, yesterday, I also wrote another Medicare Advantage plan, which would be my first replacement of a Medicare Advantage plan. This lady enrolled with Humana. She had already gotten all of her materials for next year. And this is a client of mine. She's had life insurance with me for, I bet, at least 10 years, probably longer, probably 12 or 14 years. And she's got other family members that have life insurance with me as well. And I was over there, I don't know, maybe 3 months ago. And I told her, once Medicare comes around, let's sit down and talk about it. And she said, oh, sure, I'd be happy to. She said something about really not being happy with her current plan. And at the time, she couldn't find her Medicare card. And so I didn't have that information. But anyways, the appointment setters, actually, they were calling some of my existing policyholders. They set up an appointment with her. And so it worked out because I actually wrote a policy on her niece and her niece's husband, like, I don't know, 6 weeks ago. And the company that I wrote it with sent the policies to me. And it's kind of way out of my way. I just didn't have a chance to get out there to deliver them. And I figured, heck, I can kill two birds with one stone now. I can deliver these policies while I'm out there too.
Mhm.
So anyways, yeah, she just took out the Humana policy, and she's diabetic. I think she might have some heart issues. I know for sure she's diabetic. I was able to get her on the Zing policy that, one thing I noticed, these like Humana and Zing, if you got diabetes and you have heart issues, they'll pay you a monthly allowance for groceries and stuff. Like if you want to get your candy and stuff, but like, but like other, in perfect health, like a lot of these Medicare plans, they're not paying out those perks anymore of like the monthly allowance. And this is my first year doing this, but that's what I've noticed. So the Humana plan she took out did have some of those perks, but the Zing plan actually was a little better. It was able to give her more money annually, and her monthly allowance for food and groceries was about $45 more per month than what the Humana plan was going to give her. And her doctor was in network. She's like, I never heard of Zing. I'm like, I never heard of them either until this year. But I said, but you've had insurance with me for 15 years. I mean, would I really do you wrong, Margaret? She's like, no, I know you wouldn't. So
Exactly.
she went ahead with it. So
Yeah,
yeah, I ended up with the 2 Medicare business yesterday and 1,500 in premium. I think I'm at about 4,100 in final expense premium currently for the week.
The best part about a skilled, experienced, financially stable, confident final expense agent learning Medicare is the first 50 to 75, maybe even 100 enrollments that you guys will listen to Adam do are all people that know him, all people that trust him, all people he has a relationship with, all people that he can warm up and learn the process through. And then eventually the next 75 to 100 enrollments will be people off of Medicare leads he's never met. And then it just becomes easier because he's already built that skill set through his book of business. So if you're doing final expense and you're not doing Medicare, I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. But I enjoy listening to him add and grow and run into these situations where people can see it and then go out there and duplicate it themselves.
Yeah, it took forever to get going with it, Chris, but I'm glad I did. I mean, it's honestly pretty easy. I mean, that Sunfire makes it super easy to get everything accomplished in the home. And I think that the only thing I just don't like about it is the busy work of getting all of the carrier set up and all the different tests you have to take. Like I hated school. Like I hated taking tests. So like that's just one part that is just it's time consuming, but I just it's worth taking the time to do it because in the end, I mean, heck, I mean, even this client of mine, I mean, and you know what? I had some others this week too. I had an appointment with a client of mine that she wanted me to look at her Medicare plan. The one that she has, it was good. Like it didn't appear as though I could do anything better for her. I told her, just keep what you have. That looks good. But that's why my clients like me too, because they know I'm not just trying to make a sale on them. Like if I can't offer them something better, well, I'm going to tell them to stick with what you have. So I did have one of those this week too, which was fine. But again, by being honest and doing the right thing with my clients, it usually ends up leading to future business.
Yeah, adding Medicare to final expense producer's repertoire gives them 2 at-bats for every one human being, like literally 2 opportunities in every chance. It increases the quality of business that you're writing, increases the persistency, increases the quality of their life, increases your income. Like there isn't a single possible thing it takes away from in what you're doing once you've mastered the final expense skill set. Because realistically, final expense is selling. Medicare is enrolling. If you don't know how to sell, you're never going to learn. you kind of miss that skill set. But if you know how to sell, you know how to enroll. They just work so perfectly together. It's exciting to see that taking place. We're about to wrap up in the next minute or two. Any closing thoughts on this week or today's topic about selling during the holidays?
Well, like I said, just don't let it get in your head. Don't let the holiday season get in your head. If anything, have the mindset of, you know what, I got to make more money this month. I got kids, I got presents I got to pay for. Like, if anything, push harder to earn more income. Don't let the people throw those smoke screens at you of, call me after the holidays. I'm really busy. I'm really busy too, but this will only take 10 minutes and I don't need any money today. So let's just sit down and go over it.
Yep. You just gave them everything they needed to hear all in the very end of the conversation, which is perfect. If you guys watched till the end, you heard the best tip of the day in the 1 hour mark of today. Either way, if you're watched today, tomorrow, or in 10 years, drop us a comment, hit the like button, subscribe if it's on the thing you can subscribe to so that we can continue to share this content with others out there that may not even know it exists. And if something that you saw today spoke to you and you said, man, I'd like to work with those guys, just reach out. Maybe it's a fit, maybe it isn't. But if we taught you something that your upline didn't, or something spoke to you in a way you haven't heard before, we'd love to work with you and build that relationship further. So appreciate you guys watching and have a successful end of your week and beginning of the next one.
Happy Thanksgiving. See you next Friday.